The elevator doors slid open, and for a moment, time stood still. Olivia Chen, the billionaire CEO of Horizon Technologies, found herself staring into the face of a ghost from her past. The man before her, worn work boots, faded jeans, and a little girl clutching his hand, was unmistakably the same person who had once promised her forever, before disappearing without a trace 15 years ago. "James," she whispered, her coffee cup slipping from her fingers and shattering on the marble floor. "If you've ever wondered how a single wrong turn can change the course of multiple lives forever, stay with me until the end of this incredible story. And if you're enjoying it, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more life-changing encounters like this one." James Parker had never meant to take the executive elevator. On any normal day, he would have used the service entrance at the back of the gleaming skyscraper where he had recently been hired as part of the night cleaning crew. But today was far from normal. His 7-year-old daughter Lily had spiked a fever at school, and the principal had called him to pick her up immediately. With no childcare and his shift starting in less than an hour, James had no choice but to bring her with him and hope his supervisor would understand. "Daddy, my tummy hurts," Lily whimpered, her small hand burning with fever in his calloused palm. James knelt down to her level, brushing back the dark curls that clung to her forehead. "I know, sweetheart. We just need to talk to Mr. Rodriguez, and then we can find you a quiet place to rest while I work. Can you be brave for me a little longer?" His voice was gentle but tinged with the quiet desperation that had become his constant companion since his wife's death 3 years ago. Lily nodded bravely, though her eyes were glassy with fever. James checked his watch. They were already late. In his rush, he had entered through the main lobby instead of the service entrance, taking the first available elevator without noticing the "executive access only" sign. It was a mistake that would change everything. The 47th floor was a different world from the basement and utility areas James was familiar with. Gleaming glass walls revealed a panoramic view of the city, and the marble floors reflected the soft, expensive lighting. James immediately realized his mistake, but before he could press the button to return to the lobby, the elevator doors opened directly into a private office suite. And there she was. Olivia Chen. The woman whose face he had tried so hard to forget. 15 years had transformed the ambitious college student he once knew into one of the most powerful business leaders in the country. Her sleek black suit probably cost more than he made in 3 months, and the simple diamond pendant at her throat could have paid his overdue rent several times over. But her eyes, those were exactly the same. Dark, intelligent, and now wide with shock. "James," she repeated, ignoring the coffee spreading across the floor. "Is it really you?" Before he could answer, Lily swayed against him, her small body radiating heat. "Daddy," she murmured, before her knees buckled. James caught her as she collapsed, panic rising in his throat. "She's burning up. I need to get her to a doctor, but I can't miss this shift. I can't lose another job." The words tumbled out before he could stop them, pride long since sacrificed on the altar of necessity. Olivia moved with decisive efficiency, pressing an intercom button on her desk. "Cancel my meetings for the rest of the day. And get Dr. Patel up here immediately." She turned back to James, her professional mask slipping to reveal genuine concern. "Bring her to the couch." The next few hours passed in a blur. Dr. Patel, Olivia's personal physician who apparently kept an office in the building for executive health concerns, diagnosed Lily with a severe case of strep throat and administered antibiotics. James sat beside his daughter as she slept on the Italian leather couch in Olivia's office, acutely aware of how out of place they both were in this temple of wealth and power. "You disappeared." Olivia's voice was quiet but carried an undercurrent of 15 years of unanswered questions. She stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city lights beginning to twinkle as dusk fell. No goodbye, no explanation. Just gone. James stared at his rough hands. "I didn't have a choice." "Everyone has choices, James." There was a hardness to her voice now, the protective shell of someone who had learned to guard her heart. Not when your father threatens to destroy the future of the woman you love if you don't walk away. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with implications. Olivia turned sharply. What are you talking about? My father? James nodded slowly. He came to me the night before graduation. Said you were destined for greatness, and I would only hold you back. That he had the power to make sure you never got into law school if I stayed in your life. He looked up at her, years of regret etched into the lines around his eyes. I was a scholarship kid with nothing to offer but debt and dreams. He was right. He had no right, Olivia whispered, her composure cracking. And you had no right to make that decision for me. I know that now. James gently adjusted the cool cloth on Lily's forehead. But at 22, facing down one of the most powerful men in the state. I thought I was doing the right thing. By the time I realized my mistake, you were already making headlines with your first tech startup. You seemed to be living the life you were meant for. Olivia moved closer, studying the sleeping child. She looks like you. Around the eyes. But she has her mother's smile. James' voice softened with grief. Sarah died when Lily was 4. Cancer. I'm sorry. And she meant it, despite the complicated emotions swirling between them. We had a good life together, James said simply. Sarah knew about you. About what happened. She always said that someday I should try to find you and explain. And yet you're mopping floors in my building instead. James flinched at her bluntness. I didn't know this was your company until I got the job last week. Horizon Technologies is a big name, but I never connected it to you. I've been focused on keeping a roof over our heads since Sarah's medical bills wiped out our savings. Olivia was silent for a long moment, processing this information. Finally, she asked, what happened to your architecture career? You were so talented. Life happened. I worked for a small firm for years, but they went under during the recession. Then Sarah got sick, and I took whatever jobs I could to pay the bills and be available for Lily. He shrugged, embarrassment coloring his features. Not exactly the success story you'd expect from your college sweetheart. And what would you say if I told you I've never forgotten you? Olivia's question was barely audible, vulnerability showing through her carefully constructed facade. Before James could answer, Lily stirred, her eyes fluttering open. Daddy? Where are we? We're safe, sweetheart. This is an old friend of mine. Miss Chen. You can call me Olivia, she said, kneeling down to Lily's eye level. How are you feeling? My throat still hurts, but not as bad. Lily studied Olivia with curious eyes. Your office is pretty. Do you own the whole building? Olivia smiled. This one and a few others. Would you like to see something cool? At Lily's eager nod, Olivia pressed a button on a remote, and the glass wall behind her desk transformed into a massive screen. This is what I've been working on. It's a virtual reality program that helps doctors practice surgeries before they do them on real patients. Lily's eyes widened with wonder as the screen displayed a 3D model of a human heart, beating in perfect rhythm. That's amazing. Did you make that all by yourself? I had a lot of help. But it started with an idea I had in college. Olivia glanced at James. Your dad actually helped me with the first sketches. He was always good at seeing how to turn ideas into reality. James looked surprised. You remember that? I remember everything, Olivia said quietly. The moment was interrupted by Olivia's assistant entering with a tray of food. I thought you might be hungry, she explained, setting down sandwiches, fruit, and juice. As they ate, the awkwardness between James and Olivia gradually eased. Lily, despite her illness, charmed Olivia with her questions about technology and her stories about school. James watched the interaction with a mixture of pride and melancholy, glimpsing a life that could have been. "I should call my supervisor," James said eventually, checking his watch. "Explain why I'm not at my shift." "That won't be necessary." Olivia's voice had returned to its professional tone. "I've already spoken with the facilities management company. You have the night off, with pay." James stiffened. "I don't need charity." "It's not charity to take care of a sick child." Olivia met his gaze steadily. "And it's not charity to recognize talent being wasted. My head of architectural design is looking for an assistant. Someone with training who can help translate concepts into workable plans. The hours are regular, the pay is competitive, and there's full benefits, including health insurance. You can't just offer me a job because of our history. I'm offering you a job because I need someone with your skills, and you need a position that actually uses your education." Olivia's expression softened. "The fact that I once loved you has nothing to do with it." "Well, maybe a little. It got you in the door. But you'll have to prove yourself like anyone else." James looked at Lily, who had fallen asleep again, her breathing easier now. "I can't make a decision like this tonight." "Of course not. Take the weekend to think about it." Olivia wrote something on a business card and handed it to him. "This is my personal number. Call me on Monday with your answer." As the night deepened, Olivia arranged for her driver to take James and Lily home. Standing in the lobby, waiting for the car to arrive, James finally asked the question that had been haunting him. "Why are you doing this? After what I did, walking away without an explanation, you have every right to hate me." Olivia considered her answer carefully. 15 years ago, I thought you broke my heart because I wasn't enough. Finding out my father orchestrated it, that changes things. But more importantly, seeing you with Lily reminds me of something I've forgotten in my pursuit of success." "What's that?" "That connections matter more than achievements. That love is worth fighting for." She looked at the sleeping child in his arms. "And that sometimes, the wrong elevator takes you exactly where you need to be." The company car pulled up to the curb, sleek and black against the night. As James carefully settled Lily in the back seat, Olivia handed him a small bag containing Lily's medication and instructions from Dr. Patel. "Monday," she reminded him. "I'll be waiting for your call." James nodded, a cautious hope beginning to bloom in his chest. "Monday," he agreed. As the car pulled away from the curb, James looked back to see Olivia still standing there, illuminated by the building's lights. For the first time in years, the weight on his shoulders felt a little lighter. One wrong elevator had led him back to a path he thought forever closed, a path that might lead not just to financial stability, but perhaps, eventually, to healing the wounds of the past. The weekend passed in a whirlwind of emotions and decisions. Lily's condition improved rapidly with the antibiotics, and by Sunday, she was back to her energetic self, full of questions about Daddy's friend with the cool office. James spent hours weighing his options, pride battling with practicality, past regrets wrestling with future possibilities. Monday morning found him standing in the lobby of Horizon Technologies again, this time properly dressed in his one good suit, worn at the cuffs but carefully pressed. Lily was back at school, and James had called the cleaning company to formally resign. He had made his decision. The receptionist directed him to a different elevator this time, not the executive one, but not the service one either. As he rode up to the 32nd floor, where the architectural design team worked, James couldn't help but reflect on how a single mistake, taking the wrong elevator, had cascaded into a complete upheaval of his life. The design department was a hive of activity, with open workspaces filled with drafting tables, computer stations, and 3D printers. The head of the department, a no-nonsense woman named Helen Park, greeted him with a firm handshake. "Ms. Chen speaks highly of your potential, Mr. Parker, but I'll be the judge of your actual abilities." Her directness was refreshing after years of supervisors who saw him as nothing more than a pair of hands to clean or fix things. "We have a project meeting in 30 minutes. I suggest you use that time to familiarize yourself with our current portfolio. James spent the morning absorbing information, asking questions, and gradually finding his footing in this new environment. By lunchtime, he had already contributed several practical suggestions to a problematic design, earning grudging approval from Helen and curious looks from his new colleagues. He was studying a set of blueprints when a familiar voice spoke behind him. "How's your first day going?" James turned to find Olivia standing there, somehow both the powerful CEO and the woman he had once known so well. "It's overwhelming. But in a good way. Helen says you've already proven useful." There was a hint of pride in Olivia's voice. "I knew you would." "Thank you for this opportunity," James said sincerely. "I won't waste it." "I know you won't." Olivia hesitated, then added, "I was wondering if you and Lily might join me for dinner this weekend. Nothing formal, just a chance to talk." "Really talk?" James felt a flutter of something he hadn't experienced in years, possibility. "I think we'd like that." Olivia smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her face from the stern businesswoman back to the girl he had once known. "Good. I'll have my assistant arrange the details." She turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and James? Welcome to Horizon." As she walked away, James realized that sometimes life's biggest mistakes, like taking the wrong elevator, could lead to the most unexpected second chances. The path ahead was uncertain, complicated by history and circumstance, but for the first time in years, it was also filled with hope. 6 months later, James stood in Olivia's office again, watching the sunset paint the city in gold and crimson. So much had changed since that fateful day when he and Lily had stumbled into her life. His work in the architectural department had quickly proven his value, and he had recently been promoted to lead a special project team developing sustainable housing solutions, a passion he had abandoned years ago when survival became his only priority. Lily had blossomed too, thriving with the stability their new life provided. She had developed an unexpected bond with Olivia, who seemed to find genuine joy in nurturing the girl's budding interest in technology and design. And then there was Olivia herself. Their relationship had evolved cautiously, both of them wary of reopening old wounds. They had spent countless hours talking through the past, confronting the manipulation that had torn them apart, and gradually rebuilding trust. James had met Olivia's father again, now an elderly man with regrets of his own, seeking forgiveness for his interference in his daughter's life. "Penny for your thoughts?" Olivia joined him at the window, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. "I was just thinking about elevators," James replied with a small smile. "And how sometimes getting lost can lead you exactly where you need to be." Olivia's hand found his, their fingers intertwining naturally. "I spent 15 years building this company, thinking success would fill the emptiness I couldn't explain. But it never did. And now?" She turned to face him, vulnerability and strength coexisting in her expression. "Now I understand that some connections can't be replaced. That sometimes the universe gives you a second chance, if you're brave enough to take it." James gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, a gesture from their shared past. "I never stopped loving you, Olivia. Even when I thought I had no right to. And I never stopped looking for you in every face I met." She leaned forward, resting her forehead against his. "We've lost so much time. But we found our way back," James whispered. "That's what matters now." As the last rays of sunlight faded from the sky, they stood together at the top of the world Olivia had built, contemplating the future they might create together, a future born from a single wrong turn, a mistaken elevator, and the courage to face the past in order to reclaim what had been lost. And somewhere in the building, that executive elevator continued its endless journey up and down, perhaps waiting to change another life with an unexpected destination. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe for more tales of second chances and unexpected reunions. Remember that sometimes our biggest mistakes can lead to our greatest blessings.